Well, it was just as ugly inside as it was outside tonight, but the West Virginia Mountaineers do pull off a win and in pretty clutch fashion down the stretch. What's it mean, man? Is it big for the Mountaineers? What's it mean for the tournament resume? I got a lot of questions.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host here. Welcome back into a Locked On West Virginia post-game edition where we're talking about the Mountaineer Hoop Squad, baby, as they pull off a 59-54 win over the Kansas State Wildcats. So let's dive into that, obviously. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. We're being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network where we're talking about your team every day, the Mountaineers, every single day. Going to be brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase where the terms and conditions apply. All right, so it was not pretty, but it was a win for the West Virginia Mountaineers. You know, said going into it, if this game is in the 60s or 50s, it favors West Virginia, and that it did. Although it seemed like there, with about 4 or 5 minutes left in the second half, West Virginia may and actually lose this game. This was a really pretty poor overall offensive performance for the Mountaineers, but you did play well on defense, and you did hold PJ Haggerty in check for most of the game, so we'll talk about that. What's next for West Virginia is a question I think a lot of people have outside of Baylor, obviously. What's within the obvious? Now that you've got a win, another win against the team, and you're starting to stack some wins up on the resume, can you see the light at the end of the tunnel that is the tournament, the postseason? That's something that we all wish to be a part of, especially in year one for Ross Hodge. We'll have a look-see at that too. Before we get there, though, let's dive straight into what happened here. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't smooth, but in February, it absolutely counts, right? And West Virginia just did just enough Tuesday night inside a really tense, grinded-out environment at Hope Coliseum where they knocked off Kansas State 59-54 and improving to 14-7 overall. Not a terrible record. 5-3 in Big 12 play, not terrible. And just as important, I think West Virginia stayed perfect at home, 13-0. That's something that continues to anchor their postseason resume a little bit here. And I think this is one of those games where style points don't really matter. You're just in a slugfest with the Big 12 team. They've got guys that get paid too, and survival matters, right? Style doesn't matter, survival matters. That's what I wrote down during the ending of that game. You know, it's not pretty. Style points don't matter, but survival does. And it was a rock fight from the opening tip. You know, I mean, we were cold as ice to open this game, really ugly, and going more than what? Well, we go 5 minutes before we made a field goal. So it was an early 7-0 hole. Where we had turnovers. It was just bad possessions, and all that. So finally we were able to get on the board and just breathe a little bit. And then we made a run late in the first half, which helped with Honor Huff when he started to pull off his shooting performance that he put in, which was pretty good. And obviously he was able to turn that into making himself a decoy. He found Obioha at times, but it was a physical, ugly basketball for the most part. And it's the opposite of what Kansas State wanted. They wanted to run. They wanted to make things pretty, and West Virginia did not, and it favored West Virginia, but it was a little bit too ugly, in my opinion, even for West Virginia. West Virginia kind of briefly looked like they might pull away early in the second half, pushing the lead to 10 even at 34-24, but, the Big 12 is known for being punching back, and yes, Jerome Tang and company are on the hot seat, but Kansas State's not giving up, and they had back-to-back threes, which drove me crazy. I think one of them was in transition, wide open. And sorry, my neck had a hitch in it there. Erased all of our momentum, really, and kind of in a hurry. And from there, it became a possession by possession war where it was, at one point, Kansas State tied the game at 45 and kind of even they took the lead. And West Virginia went 7 more minutes without a field goal again. And so, but you know what? Our defense kept us in the game, which really allowed us to settle in, I think, towards the end of this, which is why Kansas State only scored 4 points during the entire drought they had. So that's the game right there, really. And when West Virginia needed the bucket, Trace and Eaglestaff delivered. Even though he had some boneheaded plays tonight, he came through tonight. He came through here, especially at the end of the game. Just took he was too open. He took the lane. He missed his first shot, got the stick back and a foul, and that snapped our drought, knocking down a huge three as well later on during that run. So, Trey Eaglestaff contributed once again. And so the 3, the and 1, both were big deals. Obviously, Honor Huff does what he does. When you look up, he's got 17 points, 8 rebounds, and hit the biggest shots late. And he sealed it at the line late. Trey Eaglestaff was almost a double-double, 12 points and 9 rebounds tonight. Brennan Laurent was fresh with 10 points and 6 rebounds. Really, really steady interior presence. Chance Moore had 9 points. He looked really good at times today. And then Harlan Obioha finished at the rim at times when you needed him to. So as far as West Virginia goes here, it's the resume win. You're 10. You beat a 10-10 team that's not very good, but it's a game you can't afford to lose. So you move to 5-3 in the Big 12, and it keeps you undefeated at home, like we said earlier. It adds another conference win against a quality opponent, which Kansas State technically still is, and it shows West Virginia can win even when the offense isn't there, I think. So the selection committee does value things in February, conference wins and the ability to grind it. And I think they're going to look back at some of these West Virginia wins, and hopefully, it won't even be a factor, but, hopefully they look back at some of these wins and realize West Virginia is a tournament worthy team, because I think that we are. It's just that unfortunately we have these moments of drought on offense that makes us look so scary, and it's probably going to beat us in the postseason if we do get in one of these droughts that we go on. But at the end of the day, this wasn't a highlight reel performance like we said. It was a survival test, and West Virginia kind of passed it. So I think games like this are often kind of the difference between sweating on Selection Sunday and breathing comfortably, because you drop 1 or 2 games like this you shouldn't drop, right? You're a better team, and before you know it, you're really sweating it out come Selection Sunday. And I laid it out for you guys the other day. If West Virginia can just win the games they're supposed to win down the stretch, they're in. And it may not be because of quality wins, and they may not be because of quad 1 wins, but it's going to be because they're going to have 21 wins if they just do what they're supposed to do down the stretch here. You're already at 14. And you haven't played the Big 12 tournament, and you haven't played a pretty good chunk of your schedule yet. So, you got some punch from DJ Thomas tonight, who played well on defense at times and got some key rebounds. Had a really nice assist on one play. I remember Honor Huff, 38 minutes is a lot. You would like to see him cut that down some, but we just needed him tonight. Trey Eaglestaff played 34, and you're leaning on the 2 guys you started out the season thinking you would need to lean on for better, for worse, right? So, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess, but it's definitely it can be worrisome, because I don't think we've had a game yet where they're both on. Not yet. So if there's ever a game where Eaglestaff and Huff are both on, we can probably beat just about anybody in the country outside of the top 5 or maybe 8 teams. So that's interesting, right? But we still haven't had a game where they're both on, so we don't even know what that looks like. Maybe we never will. I don't know. But let's go to break. We'll talk about the future a little bit and get out of here. It's late. All right, talking about our friends, and we do love our friends at Mazda, guys. When it comes to Mazda, can I just tell you something? You know, the Mazda is what's moving the game forward. And for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, this is what we're talking about. That these kind of remind us what it takes to really raise the bar. It takes the extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit and never quit, right? We put that same passion into every model. Highlight makes the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to our Mazda, though, because there's more to you. In segment 2, I got a body armor due. Let's look ahead here for West Virginia. Obviously, you've got Baylor and Cincinnati coming up. You know, the game against Baylor is at home. Then you go on the road to Cincinnati, which isn't too far away, before playing Texas Tech and what'll be a very entertaining game. A coach, mentor versus protege type situation with Grant McCasland and Ross Hodge. So that'll be fun. But, obviously got to get by Baylor first, who's just having a rough year right now as well. Kind of similar to Kansas State. They're capable of beating us. Absolutely. They can beat us. I don't for a second think that we can, just walk away with this, but this is another game where you can get to 15 wins. Then you play a Cincinnati team who has been playing a lot better lately, but they just got absolutely drubbed by Arizona after playing Iowa State and beating them. And now they've lost to Arizona State. So here they are. And now they're going to play the two teams we play next play each other tomorrow. So Baylor and Cincinnati play each other tomorrow. Then Cincinnati's going to go to Houston and then face us. So to think that Baylor, that Cincinnati's going to be in good shape, ready to play us, I beg to differ. They're going to be beat all to hell by the time they come down to us and we go to Cincy. You have to feel pretty good about that West Virginia game in Cincy. So you're talking about the next two games, that's 16 wins. And then, you've got the Texas Tech game, which obviously, is never going to be easy. As a matter of fact, it's definitely difficult. From a West Virginia perspective, definitely difficult. But I think you've gotten, whenever I first talked about this portion of the schedule, we started talking about it after Kansas. We said, you're going to probably lose to Houston, but if you can beat Colorado, Arizona State, and Kansas State out of the next 3 games, out of the 3 of the next 4 games, because you played Arizona, I said, that's a win, right? And then I started going through it, and I said, then you've got Baylor, then you got Cincinnati. If you can win those 2, that's 15 and 16. Then you're probably going to lose to Tech, but you could win. It's at home. You're undefeated at home. That could be a big resume booster. But let's say you lose it, right? And then you've got UCF, a team you should be able to beat. That's 17 potentially. Then you've got Utah. That should be 18. That's at home. Then you've got TCU. Let's say you drop that. And then you've got Oklahoma State. That's 19. Then you got BYU. Let's say you drop that. Then you've got Kansas State. That's 20. But let's say you drop that. Then you've got UCF. That's 20. So there's so many routes for you to get there. I don't see how there's any way this team doesn't get to 20 wins at this point. Even though it's ugly, and it's not 100% positive this team's a great team. I do see a route to them getting to 20 wins or potentially more. And if you get there, then you're probably in the tournament. So unless we start to see something from Lenardi and them and says that we got to beat Texas Tech down the stretch or something crazy, I don't know. So at some point, you just have to win the games that are on your schedule. Because, in the Big 12, if you get to 20 wins, you should be fine. I haven't think I've seen a team make it to 20 and not get in out of the Big 12. I could be wrong though. So overall, guys, we've got a great shot. Our schedule sets up so beautifully. The only teams on here remaining that should scare you are BYU and Texas Tech. Every other game is winnable, and even Texas Tech is winnable at home. So, you just can't lose any games that you shouldn't lose more than one or two. As long as you lose within reason, and that's quite a bit of rope, right? Like you could even lose to Baylor Saturday if you absolutely have to. Um, so there's a lot here that there's some meat on the bone for West Virginia to make some mistakes and still get in, I think. But what would really get you in is if you just beat everybody but BYU and Texas Tech on the way out the door here. Just beat them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more wins. Gets you to what? Let's see, you're at 14 now, so it gets you to 22. Not too bad. So, there's definitely a few avenues, and then you got the Big 12 tournament. Hopefully you're not at 18 or 19 come then, and you need some wins in the tournament to get in. So we'll just play it by ear. Obviously, our resume is not going to be great. We know that. So when it comes to, we don't want, unlike last year, even though it didn't go our way, like our last year's resume dominates this one, right? But at the end of the day, had we won 20 games last year and you knock off, if you would have won 20 games last year, 21 games, and you knock off the Arizona win and you knock off another nice win, we probably get in. It's just for some reason you see that number 20 or 21 at the end of a team's win-loss record, and it just seems to mentally people just, oh, they must be pretty good. So, all right. Question is from Earval. Did you think we'd have the wins we've had to date? It's tough. I don't know. I've always thought we would be an 18 to 21 team. I said that since the beginning of the year, but I thought we would have won more non-conference games than we won. Man, we could be breezing to the tournament if we would have just stuck the landing on Ohio State or Clemson. It just didn't happen for us. The team was starting to learn to play together. I hate it for them because I think we were the better team in both scenarios. You were up double digits in both those games. The Pitt win means nothing now. Capel's gone after this year. So yeah, I mean, what is Pitt's record now? They're terrible. Which I should realize Jay hasn't called me. He's just waiting for the offseason, I'm sure. Because he technically didn't pick most of this team that they have. They're 9-12. So what I hate about that for Jay is, because I know a lot of you guys probably root for Jay Kuntz like I do. At least I hope you do. I'm not rooting for Pitt, but I'm rooting for Jay. I would hope that they give Capel one more year, because where's Jay going to go if they – he's not even going to have a chance to do anything there if they let him go after this year. So hopefully they don't. Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I hope he does. The question in the chat is, will Jay be retained? I don't know the answer to that. You would hope so, but he's a good GM, so hopefully they would. Huggins to Pitt. Good Lord. Let's go to break. We'll come right back and put a bow on this one. All right. This episode is going to be brought to you by our friends at TurboTax. Talking about TurboTax, guys, tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. And with TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in Connect online or in person if you want to do that. You can also upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It is a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by February 28th. So if you want to take taxes off your plate and get back to life, visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Back. We're back. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I don't have much else. You know, I will just say that, the news is slow right now, guys. So I'm trying to maintain on the daily recording schedule. We might miss a day here coming up soon if they don't have some more news coming along. Obviously, basketball plays again on Saturday. So what we can do is I'm going to try to have my guy Cam Stewart on to preview the Baylor game sometime between now and Saturday. Well, no, actually, probably Friday. We don't want to do it Saturday. He's very entertaining to have on, and I'll come up with some topics to do in between now and then. But there is not a lot going on, as you guys know, so just stick with me on it. We'll get through it. It's always like this during the off season, so we'll continue to try to pump the content out, but it's never easy. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Thanks for making us your first listen every day as well, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. But before you go, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also check out Locked On College Football next. Spencer Sanders, man. Spencer McLaughlin, I'm sorry. Not Spencer Sanders. Spencer McLaughlin does an excellent job over there. And also Locked On Ducks, where he just, he's got one of the best voices, I think, in our business. Very talented guy and does a great job at Locked On College Football. So check Spencer out wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Big win tonight. So might as well not forget to cue those country roads.